Hi everyone, I'm Howard Berg, the world's fastest reader. I'm the Guinness World Record holder. I was the only person ever recognized for reading over 25,000 words per minute.
I recently stumbled upon speed reading again, and well, this video, and I thought, it's about time. It's about time I also become one of those superhumans that devours a book a day. And there's a lot of content from bloggers, YouTubers, speed readers that give you the idea that you too can read books at this incredible pace. And all you have to do is learn the techniques and apply them. But after going through all the research and testing the techniques myself, I came to the disappointing but expected conclusion that speed reading only marginally increases your reading speed and comes with a bunch of drawbacks. So let's look at the techniques. Some of them are so generic, if you didn't know this was about speed reading, you'd think this was about workplace productivity. Eliminate distractions, put your phone away, focus on the task at hand. Give your eyes a break, every now and then look into the distance or close your eyes for a bit. And some techniques are straight up about how to avoid reading, like pre-skim the text for titles and bullet points so you have an overview of what the text is going to be about, so you don't actually have to read most of it. Or start at the end because there's a summary or even the result of whatever you're about to read, so you can skip most of it. Because that's ultimately one of the advice that I actually give is eliminate unnecessary paragraphs. Because reading isn't about reading a book, it's about finishing it. One of the major promises of speed reading is that you read faster without loss of comprehension. So some of the techniques or advice are geared towards understanding more and not necessarily about speed. Like summarize a chapter or paragraph after you've finished reading it just to memorize what you've just read. That actually pairs quite well with looking into the distance and relaxing your eyes. My favorite tip or my favorite speed reading technique is when they say the better or the bigger your vocabulary and the bigger your topic knowledge about whatever you're reading, the easier it is for you to digest what you're about to read and the faster you can go over it. Because if there's a new word, you're certainly gonna stop for a second and think, okay, what does that mean? So the advice is expand your vocabulary, expand your knowledge, which to me translates to read more. So now let's get into the techniques that are about the actual skill of speed reading. The first actual speed reading technique is stop subvocalization, which means don't say the words in your head while you're reading, so turn off your inner voice. Because your brain can register and understand the words a lot faster than you can actually vocalize them or speak them. Tools like Spreeder here show you how fast you can actually read or register the words. Another useful skill to learn is to use your peripheral vision. By not focusing on one word at a time, but kind of looking at several words at one time, you can read a lot faster and also smoother because you don't stop and fixate on a single word while reading. This combines well with the other technique called chunking, where you read several words at once, which is faster than reading one word at a time. The hardest technique to learn, at least for me, was to resist regression, which is the urge to go back and reread a paragraph or a sentence you just read, because reading it once is faster than reading it twice. And to help you resist the urge to regress to the prior paragraph, there's the technique called finger tracking, where you use your finger or a pen to move along the lines at a certain or at a fixed speed, which makes reading a lot smoother and also avoids jumping back and rereading the same line or the same sentence. So the big question now is, how much faster can I actually read without loss of comprehension while using these techniques? Because research shows that reading speed quickly comes at the expense of comprehension and is unfortunately highly dependent on existing knowledge of the language and the topic at hand. To put these techniques to the test, I conducted a series of experiments reading 1,000-word long texts about semi-famous people and ran an assessment on my comprehension right after having read the text. With these multiple choice assessments, I could basically measure my comprehension of a text. So I read different texts from 300, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 to 1,000 words per minute on different topics and ran the assessments to measure my comprehension level for each reading speed. Then I specifically practiced the techniques on different websites like Spreeder that helped me stop subvocalization by increasing the speed, that helped me use my peripheral vision, helped me chunking, which I then incorporated into my usual reading routine where I just read a book as fast as I could. I also used the other techniques like finger tracking and avoiding regression, summarizing the paragraph or the chapter after I finished reading it. I kept my phone away to not be distracted and focus on my book. So after a few hours of practicing these skills specifically and then applying them while reading, I went back to the experiments and measured my comprehension level again from 300 up to 1,000 words per minute. As expected and aligning with existing research, my reading speed increased while my comprehension stayed at the same level. If we take 80% comprehension level as a baseline of this text was actually understood, we can see that my reading speed increased from 350 words per minute up to 450 words per minute. While my comprehension now stays the same at higher reading speeds, it was barely an improvement. I don't think I committed any of the information to long-term memory. And I kept thinking, wow, this is really interesting, but I never really got to enjoy it because I had to read fast. And those are two of the less often talked about consequences of speed reading. It's less fun and learning decreases. Just because I understood what I read doesn't mean that I learned it. The other issues that are just kind of brushed aside or adjusted for statistically is topic knowledge and vocabulary. A lot of people read in their second or even third language, and a lot of people read about topics they have no idea about. Just look at the text here where my comprehension dropped sharply. That was a text about ancient Egypt. I struggle with the names and dates. So in summary, this means speed reading techniques do improve your reading speed a little bit, some of the time, and come at the cost of learning and joy. And I think reading isn't just about finishing a book and understanding what it's about. It's also about enjoying to read and to learn and apply the new knowledge. But speed reading is still a useful tool depending on the situation, which led me to make a distinction between three different kinds of reading. The first one is search reading. This is when you're just out for information. You don't want to enjoy the text, you don't care, you just want to get done with it. This is where all the speed reading techniques are extremely useful. You want to be done with the task. This is not about reading, this is about finishing a task. You're just control F'ing your way through a text, trying to get out of it as quickly as possible. Then there's something completely different, which is epic reading. You really want to feel the emotions, you want to feel the words, you want to feel the story and the character, really want to immerse yourself in a new world where speed doesn't matter. This is about enjoying how to read. The only real advice you can use here is expand your vocabulary and, well, no distractions. And the third type of reading for me is learn reading. When I'm not looking for a specific type of information or a specific word, I'm just trying to learn. So I'm reading an entire book because I don't know what's in there, like self-help or self-improvement books, where the goal is not to finish the book, the goal is to extract information out of the book and apply it to my life. The speed reading techniques like stopping subvocalization, peripheral reading, can be useful and applied every now and then, but it depends on what part of it I'm reading. If it's just an example, I can fly over it a bit quicker, but if it's the essence of the book or if it's the essence of the chapter, I want to slow down, internalize it, take a break after the paragraph, think about what I just read, summarize it. The goal here is not to read fast, it's to apply new knowledge. So where does this leave us? Speed reading definitely has its merits. It has a tangible boost in reading speed, especially when search reading. But it's far from what it promises or proposes to be, because content about speed reading often feels like a grift. They sell you an easy solution. Just learn these techniques and you'll be reading so many more books, learning so much more. You'll be improving your life, you'll get rich so quickly just by learning these techniques. To me, it feels like speed reading is just pseudo-intellectual productivity porn, because you can consume hours and hours of content about speed reading without actually reading more. But there's some really basic but useful advice hidden underneath those fancy techniques, which is read more and you'll read faster. But that's not as fancy as speed reading, is it? So use speed reading as a tool in your arsenal and know when to use it. But also don't forget to enjoy reading and apply the knowledge you just learned. Maybe reading shouldn't be a task you have to finish. Maybe reading should be something you want to do, that you look forward to. In the end, speed reading won't save you or me from what we actually have to do. Read more.